Say it one more time. If Guyana is to grow, ladies and gentlemen, a man who is fighting the fight daily in the trenches, arrested, threatened to be arrested every day, lives in a basement that is now a mansion. My friend, my colleague, Mr. Rickford Burke.
Thank you, thank you. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I heard that greetings were given away, so I want to give away some greetings as well.
Yes.
I bring you greetings from the Democratic leader in Congress. My friend, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, and different this couple of years. And so thank you guys, thank you Member of Parliament, PNC Chairman here in New Jersey, Mr. Washington, Mayor Ubraj Narayan, my brother, and Mr. Paul Slow, the distinguished former police officer. Good night to everybody. I'm happy to be here. I'm not going to take too long, but I feel assured when I listen to the presentations here tonight. When I listen to Coretta talk about how they're holding the guardrails of democracy and justice, and fighting for racial justice, I feel fired up. Are you fired up? Yeah. Are you fired up? Yeah. The mayor standing up for the people of Georgetown. I love it, but I'm fired up. Before I say what I want to say, I know that the telephones are probably ringing in Georgetown that I'm speaking now. I want to respond to the Guyana Police Force. They issued a statement this evening condemning me because I criticized the police commissioner for being a political activist, a political flunky for the PPP and a house slave. So he issued a statement saying that I am a fugitive from justice and I'm a criminal. What she said, to let you guys know, we have 18,000 people watching us.
Oh, wow.
Over 18,000. Well, I'm not sure if the police commissioner noticed that Attorney General of New York warned them that if they touch any one of us in the Guyanese community who's speaking out, that the United States government will hold them accountable. I don't know that the United States government will stand up for criminals.
You know, right?
But as a black man who's a house slave, his eyes pass black people like me.
Yeah, yeah.
I never shot and killed black people in Boston. I never shot protesters fighting for their rights in Linden. No one ever caught me with wet money from a bank robbery where all the money was not turned over. I didn't kill the people, the miners in Christmas Fall. I couldn't write, I'm not the one that couldn't write an essay when the president called me for an interview to be police commissioner. I don't take bribes. I see he said something about he's following a strategic plan. Dozens of police officers have said there's no strategic plan. He's the most unqualified, corrupt police commissioner in the history of the country. And he's attacking me and calling me a criminal. I was never arrested in my life. So I was really pissed off when I saw that statement. I shouldn't probably use that word, but I was angry, and I live in a country where we exercise free speech. And let me say, with regard to this wanted bulletin that they're putting out for people, they're abusing the police process. Yeah. And let me say, I'm going to announce this now. The Federal Bureau of Investigations, the United States FBI, is investigating the Guyana Police Force. They're investigating the circumstances which they're using wanted bulletins to harass people in this country. I met with the FBI. Paul Slow met with the FBI. They're investigating the Guyana police force harassment of Paul Slow as well. So if the police commissioner knows what is good for him, he should shut up. Because someday one of them might come to this country and don't go back. They might be arrested. So that's so much for the police wanted bulletin. I had to respond to the Guyana police force. They espouse black people. And I am ready to throw the gauntlet at them. I don't live in Guyana. I live in America. I'm protected by this country. And so when you mess with us, we throw the gauntlet at you. Now, I'm happy that we have this forum. We've never been to New Jersey to talk about the apartheid regime in Guyana, to talk about the suffering of the Guyanese people, to talk about the racism and the apartheid government of Guyana. And I'm going to rush through what I have to say, but I want to assure the people of Guyana that we have been given the assurance by the White House, by the Congress, and by the Congressional Black Caucus that there will be a summit this year on Guyana and Guyana's future. And many of you would have seen the forum we had in Brooklyn, and it was convened specifically to discuss transnational repression crimes. That's where governments like Russia and China and North Korea and Iran attack their citizens in the United States. There's a special law for that. And so, as Washi said earlier, we had the Justice Department there, we had the Attorney General, we had the NYPD, we had the Attorney General's office, the United States Attorney General's office, we had our elected officials there. They're taking what is happening in Guyana very seriously. And all the abuses. I personally briefed members of Congress about what the government did to the mayor. For absolutely nothing, they arrested the mayor. If I was the mayor of Georgetown, some of them couldn't come back in that city. They couldn't come back in the city. And this government is operating as though Guyana is a plantation. And they are the white slave masters. They act like they're the new plantocracy. And black people are the slaves. And East Indians who don't support them, like Ubraj Narayan and Daniel Siram and so many others. And Ganesh, Mike Paul. And we have to stand up to them. And I dare say we have to fight them. We have to fight them. This is our country. And I'm serious as a heart attack. We have to fight them. It seems as though this government has a plan to separate the country. They want to make Guyana Sudan, where they marginalize a certain set of people until the country split in half. You notice they have a strategy whenever we call out the racists, they call us racist. Well, let me tell you something. I would live and die a racist if I'm fighting for the rights of black people. This is Black History Month, and we stand up for black people. And when they come to this country, they will learn that they're black too. So in this country, we fight for them as well. And that's why I want to encourage the people of Guyana to stand up. You see what Coretta talked about, what they did to Maka? That's the closest thing we've come to slavery. Yeah. They went and destroyed homes of black residents on black ancestral lands. I'm surprised there was not an uprising in the country. And I'm wondering what our people are doing. I'm not saying you must rise up violently, but rise up politically. Give them hell. That's what we do in this country. Look what happened when they killed George Floyd. I'm not saying you must get violent. But it pains me when I see what they're trying to do to black people in the country, and then they want to talk about one Guyana. as a slogan for cosmetics. So we have to have a plan. And you may have noticed a while back that 85 organizations and prominent individuals wrote a letter to the Vice President of the United States. Kamala Harris, that letter went to the leader of the Democrats now, Hakeem Jeffries, who I know is the PPP's nightmare, because if they had any sense, they would have realized that this guy is aiming high and moving high. And when he said the United States government will not tolerate racism in Guyana, they should say, yes, we support that. Which country tolerates racism? But they defended racism. When the Attorney General said we will not tolerate racism, they ran to the Republicans to attack her. Now the FBI is investigating whether or not that was a contribution to the Republican campaign by the PPP. Because that's how it is in this country. When you go and you assist and you provide dirt on, that's a contribution to the campaign. So every time they open their mouth, they put themselves in trouble. As a matter of fact, what triggered the investigation of the attacks on Paul Sloan and myself is the response to the Attorney General from Gail Teixeira. That letter in itself was a crime. Because in that letter, Gail Teixeira boldly called Paul Sloan a criminal. And then Barry Jagdale came up the next day and said, I'm a criminal. Barry Jagdale's government murdered over 1,000 black people with impunity. Never any justice. Barry Jagdale was found in his basement. He liked to say I live in a basement. I got 2 houses in America. But he was found in his basement or wherever, negotiating a $500,000 US bribe got by Chinese media workers. They don't give a brain to understand that these were not Chinese businessmen. And then were around the country.
Sue? Where is Sue? Who is Sue?
In addition to that, as Coretta said, they're involved in all sorts of infrastructure corruption, where they're transferring the wealth of the country to East Indians. And there's nothing wrong with East Indians getting rich. But if East Indians are bidding for contracts, it must be a fair process. And black contractors must get a contract too. In addition to this, let me say this. When Gail Teixeira attacked the Attorney General and said, oh, it's not true that there's racism, some members of the Congressional Black Caucus asked us for data. And CGID commissioned some researchers, some economists in Guyana, to go on the procurement, the tender board's website. We got information from them. The economists went on the tender board website and did an analysis of all the contracts that were awarded, because they kept saying it's lying. And the analysis found that 72% of the contracts went to East Indians. Listen to this. 2% went to black people. 10% went to foreigners. And 80% of the foreigners were East Indians from Trinidad. So it was 82% of the contracts were going to East Indians. And then you want to tell me about one Guyana? This is serious. These racists, these apartheid thugs in the PPP, they're systematically transferring the wealth of the country to themselves, their family, and their East Indian supporters. Not even East Indians, East Indian supporters, because they're anti-poor East Indians. The PPP doesn't give a damn about the poor East Indians. They're concerned with their friends and their families. That's what we're facing. And let me tell you something. Guyana has hundreds of billions of dollars in oil money to get. And they plan to get it all for themselves. They plan to shut out the Black and Amerindian and East Indian community that doesn't support them. And that must not happen. We must mobilize the world to kick them out of power. Let me repeat that. We must mobilize the world to kick them out of power. We must mobilize the world to investigate their corruption. And I am dedicated to that. I am dedicated to that. I am dedicated to make sure that Barrett Jagdale is held accountable for all those extrajudicial murders, even if it takes till I get to 75. I will be fighting for that. You will not kill Black people and get away with it.
No.
And then come and puff up yourself at election time, hang around some white people, get yourself back in power, and hold your head high like you have integrity, where you're a murderer. And we are planning to hold the Biden administration accountable for the fact that they have allowed this American ambassador to remain in Guyana. I want all of you here to write your Senator Cory Booker and Bob Menendez, who's the chairman of the Finance Committee, and demand to have my Senator Chuck Schumer have a hearing to confirm the new ambassador nominee for Guyana, so that we can have Sarah Lynch pack her bags and go. I have nothing against the Lynch. She might be a very nice woman.
You think so?
But she doesn't drink the soup of corruption.
But she came to the country. She's in bed with people who have killed Black people.
Yes.
She went to Texas and said, democracy was challenged and we won, as though she's a part of the PPP cabinet.
Yes.
I have nothing against the woman. She went to the home of someone who is under FBI investigation for funding international terrorism.
Yep.
The ambassador for the country. And when asked by a journalist, she said it was a bathroom break. Maybe. But what I'm saying is, if you are indeed, she said during the recount, all she wants is the rule of law to be followed. Have you heard anything from this ambassador about the racism? Have you heard anything about justice for Orrin Boston and Kevin Andrews and Creighton Backus and the Henry boys?
Are you saying nothing?
She's a Trump ambassador. Trump ambassador. I don't know, some of them in Guyana, they are probably nieces and nephews of Jim Crow. I'm not saying that ambassador is, I'm just saying. Running around in our country like if it's a plantation. Supporting racists that are oppressing and subjugating Black people. It is time for us to get serious. And I want to address the Black people of Guyana. Coretta says that we have to stand together. It's more than that. It's more than that. Why don't we have a Black Lawyers Association protecting the interests of Black lawyers and Black people? A certain gentleman who was a lawyer, former judge, told me that he had a discussion with the Bar Association. And he asked them why they don't have a Black Bar Association. He said, oh, that's the visit. This country is united. It is because the Black citizens are under attack that we have to now put in place institutions and organizations and systems to protect our interests. We need a Black Land Development Organization. We need a Black Doctors Association. We need a Black Bank. We have to act like we were in the civil rights struggle of America in Guyana. And when I say Black, I include in that group everybody called we Black, but the people who are opposed to the PPP. Because the PPP wants to develop that country and leave us out. Our foreparents, the slaves, built that country. We would not allow them to shut us out of the history and the destiny of the country. We can't. We can't. And if they truly believe in one Guyana, then they have to make sure that they develop the country for everybody, and everybody participates in the development of the country. And that's why we want the United States government to intervene. And I'm telling you, don't bother with the propaganda from the PPP. They like to go and take photographs with black members of Congress and so on. You notice the black chairman of the Black Congressional Black Caucus refused to meet with our finale? That's because of the work that we're doing here. Did you hear the Vice President tell them we need inclusive growth? That's because of the work we're doing here. Did you hear the Attorney General of New York say we will not tolerate racism in Guyana? That's because of the work we're doing here. Did you hear the future Speaker of the House of Representatives say the United States will not tolerate racism? That's because of the work we're doing here. But we have just gotten started. We have a lot more work to do. These people have billions of dollars at their disposal. Right now, they're paying lobbyists to lobby the United States government to keep the ambassador there, to do this, to do that. Recently, they applied for $13 billion US loan at US Exim Bank. We must block that loan. Call your senators, call Cory Booker, call Congressman Page. We must block that loan because that money will be transferred to their supporters, their family, and their friends too. They probably buy their televisions and phones and computers taking notes. They're going to issue a statement tomorrow. That's fine. We're going to respond. This is serious business. Let's, as I close, deal with the contracts. These people are giving away the country. All of the money of this country. You check, I don't know if Coretta could tell us, what is the capital budget, capital expenditure part of the budget? Hundreds of billions of dollars. Of that percent, of that, 1% going to black people. Or Amerindians or Indians who don't support the PPP. 1%. One. We have to find a solution. So I want to see all of those black contractors in Guyana pool their resources, form conglomerates, and bid for contracts. I would like to see the unions in Guyana mobilize their workers to stand up and fight for justice so that when they fire one, they must feel the heat from all. Could you believe that adults, East Indian PPP supporters, adults, are beating up little black children on the current team? Sorry, Region 5? And using hate speech, like this is an Indian area and black man can't come in. That's what the opposition leader said.
Yeah, that's true.
I have the videos. And the Minister of Education today issued a statement saying it was not racially motivated. I want to see the people of the East, of West Coast, Barbados, all stand up and fight for justice for those children. Even if they're East Indian or Amerindian children, if they're attacked, we must have justice. If it's black people attacking Indian children, there must be justice also. That's what we're about as a nation. Justice, fairness, equal protection under the law. And then let's come to the police force, and I'll close. The government is using the police force to impose ethnic supremacy in the country. That's what they're doing. Did you see what happened to Golden Grove? Yeah. Just last week, the people protested for the murder of criminal backers. And if those people did not protest and were not persistent they would not have charged that guy with murder. But they come back with revenge months later, and they round up some young black boys and say, hey, y'all are terrorists. But the real terrorists were the PPP supporters at Maripo, where we saw them on video throwing gas on cars, wheeling cutlasses and guns, saying people have a dead head today. Those young black boys didn't do that. And let me announce that one of them is my nephew.
Yes, and you know what is involved, two of those guys here in faith, and they target for that act.
One of the people that they targeted, they didn't even know was a police officer. They told you that the people did nothing. They came out on the road and they were just standing there. But if you mess with my family, there's fair game somewhere.
Yeah.
Read between the lines. Fair game somewhere. You arrested my nephew because he's a Burke.
Yeah.
They went to court, and the magistrate asked the prosecutor, the police prosecutor, where's the evidence? Wow. She went to court and she said, help all these guys, they're terrorists and a threat to society. Magistrate said, I'll just go home with some bail. Wow. No evidence.
Wow. Yeah.
But it's dangerous. They're trying to turn Guyana into Russia. Yes. They're trying to turn Guyana into a police state. They're trying to use the Guyana police force to intimidate the black population. And I want to say to police officers, they're very good, decent police officers. Do not go down the path where Clifton Hicken is using the Guyana police force. Remember, there was a time when police officers couldn't even wear their uniform?
I know.
Because they're being targeted because of the injustice they did. Clifton Hicken is going to lead the Guyana police force down that road again. And so senior police officers must stand up to him. Yeah. Senior police officers must learn to tell them when they're breaking the law. You guys saw the crime chief lying. He was caught on tape lying in the Bascom matter, where a police officer came forward and said, I have knowledge that these guys are taking bribe to cover up a murder. And they went after him viciously. Well, let me tell you this. I believe him. Because a police officer flew, a sitting police officer flew to New York and met with us and gave us evidence about serious criminal activity by members of the Guyana Police Force. This current leadership of the Guyana Police Force. And if they push me too far, you're going to see it. In addition to that, police officers in Guyana submitted sworn statements to the FBI. And that's all I say about that, about corruption in the Guyana Police Force. So there's no denying that there's corruption. And the Guyana Police Force is not following the law. They're taking the political directions from the government. They're a part of the PPP. And police officers must not obey those instructions. If those instructions are illegal, don't obey them. If everybody stands up, they'll have to follow the rule of law. So as I close, I want my message to you in New Jersey tonight is get on the phone, get on your computers, write to your members of Congress. You see how the Ukrainian Americans are mobilizing the American political directorate? That's what we need to do. You see how the Jews are mobilizing the American political directorate, and everything Israel wants, they get? That's what we need to do as Guyanese. We can't sit here and wring hands and bash Coretta McDonald and bash Daniel Siram and bash the mayor and bash this person. Yes, we can give constructive criticism, but we here have to stop being silent and get off of our laurels. Fight for our country here in America. And we have bargaining power. We came out by the millions as Caribbean Americans and voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We must pressure our representatives to make sure that there's justice in Guyana, to make sure that we get rid of the apartheid government in Guyana, to make sure that Guyana doesn't have a government that is the most brutally racist and violently oppressive in the Western Hemisphere, because that's what the PPP government is. And we want Exxon to know as well that we know that they're financing projects for the PPP. We know that. It might not be directly to the PPP, but they're projects that are benefiting the PPP politically. And we're asking the United States government to look at that too. So as I close, thank you guys for coming. We appreciate us. Let's stand together in the diaspora. Let us stand together and fight this government back home. The people in Guyana, don't give up. Don't be intimidated. Stand up and fight for your rights. Fight for justice. Fight for democracy. Thank you.